Good morning. We're going to have a nostalgic look at the turkey trot, but first, we're going to talk to the Director of General Services, Lynn Keefe, next on Village in Motion. Good morning, Green Spring. I'm Bob Zarkowitz, your host, on November the 22nd, 2 days before the big day. And isn't it odd and wonderful how fast the time goes here? Lynn Keefe, thank you for appearing with us this morning.
Certainly.
And welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I'd like to start off by asking you about the many, many projects that we have going on in our campus today. There's windows, garages. There's one little project that I looked out the window. It's in the parking lot facing Connor Terrace. It seems they made the parking space about that much larger. Is that true? Do you recall what I'm talking about?
I don't. That one, I'm not quite sure, but I'll certainly look into. I know we've been doing concrete repair in a number of areas.
Well, maybe that's it. It's concrete repair.
Yeah.
And I falsely imagined that they were expanding. So I think
I don't think
right.
we're expanding any.
You're right. It's concrete repair. But let's talk about the garages. You had I heard this beautiful voice yesterday saying, "This is Lynn Keefe," etc. And it made us so happy.
Well, nobody was happier than I was to share that. So as many residents know, and everybody actually has been impacted by the repair work that we've had to do to the parking deck. So just a little history, we have all of these areas inspected by engineers on an annual basis, and we identified some structural work that needed to be done, and it required us to close the entire deck. K, L, and M, displacing about 155 resident parking spaces. So we wanted that work done as quickly and as safely as possible, and we have been pushing to get that done, and the vendor worked expeditiously on the first resident deck next to the chapel, and they did a great job, and they finished over a month ahead of schedule. Now, we were certainly it was a benefit to have such great weather that really didn't slow the project at all, and we didn't run into any additional issues, which sometimes drag it out. So pleased to say, effective tomorrow, Wednesday, November the 22nd at 8 a.m., the lots K, L, and M will be open and ready for business as usual. So residents who previously had reserved parking in there can return to those spaces. Anybody who parked in unreserved, typically in K, they can return to parking there. All of the yellow temporarily reserved spaces will be taken up beginning tonight and into tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So those will go away and residents can return to their reserved parking. Now, residents who had reserved parking in those areas are being contacted individually by project management just to make them aware that they can return.
Lynn, I have a curiosity question. On the first garage that your people worked on or under contract, they took, I think, the full 3 months. And this time was about roughly a month and a half, give or take. Is it because the first garage was in really poor shape?
Actually, the first garage, the work took a little bit less time, and they still finished about 2 weeks ahead of schedule. So this one, because of it being 3 levels, and because it was structural in nature, and you just never know what you're going to find as they begin to, take away the concrete and see what they find. But we were very fortunate, both with weather and not finding anything that
Major?
any surprises.
Ah, okay.
So that, and they brought all their crew to bear. They knew the impact that this was having on us, partly because we told them every day. But we're very pleased with the work that they did, and so happy to have it done. So we knew all along that we were ahead of schedule, but we don't like to convey that because you never know what will happen. So on Friday, we had the engineers here. They gave their thumbs up of their review, communicated that to the county, and the county inspectors were here yesterday.
Wonderful. Curiosity question. Did you restripe?
Yes, so that actually occurred Saturday, Sunday, and yesterday. Primarily on Saturday, the weather wasn't as conducive. So restriping of all those areas occurred, and that's partly why we waited until Wednesday. Concrete curing requires that before they could paint it. So.
The domino effect now that we have two great garages all repaired is there'll be parking places available again.
There will.
If you'll excuse me, but I thought as we were going along, what's going to happen on Thanksgiving when families are going to come in?
So we did have a plan B
Okay.
because it really, until we got that final approval, we didn't communicate it out, and we had a plan to allow for guests and family members to utilize the employee parking deck from Thursday to Sunday and use additional shuttles to get them where they needed. Thankfully, we don't need that plan,
Right.
and we should have ample parking.
I know we've spent a lot of time on garages, but I believe everybody was interested. And I have one last question, if
Sure.
you don't mind. Is the employee garage going to be similarly worked on?
So we do have a little bit of work to finish there, and there are 4 phases.
Oh, have they already started?
Not yet.
Oh,
So
okay.
we're going to begin that December the 5th. It will take 3 to 4 weeks, and it will close half the deck. We
Well,
are
that
going
won't be so much then.
So we are going to accommodate our employees by utilizing the Who's Road lot over at the fields just across the parkway and utilizing shuttles. We're trying to do it in a very coordinated fashion so that everybody is in and out quickly. We target who's going to park there. It's never ideal, but if we can get that piece done before winter sets in and before repositioning starts, puts us in a really good place. So.
I have dwelled on the garages, forgive me.
That's okay.
And I know you have so many other projects, so I'm going to be quiet for a while and let you take over.
Well, let me talk a little bit about a few things that we've also completed. So crosswalks have all been repainted. Elevator floors have been
they're
beautifully
they are
done.
beautiful.
Great to maintain. Resident laundries, awning cleaning, so many great things that we got accomplished this year. A couple things that are still being finished up. Concrete repair, just a reminder, anytime you come across an area where they're doing work, there are cones and yellow tape, please avoid those areas for your own safety.
Yes.
We're also working to appropriately number the elevators so that it's obvious to the riders both what elevator they're in and what building they're in, should they have an issue or need to report something. So we're working on that. We're partnering with an ad hoc committee looking at some of our external building signage. So we've got that in process. Gray, who's behind one of our cameras, is our ad hoc committee chair. So still lots of things going on. Neighborhood 2 signage is being fabricated, and residents have been looking at some of the images that will be included. So we've got that going. But a big project that at least folks in Neighborhood 1 are interested in is the window replacement. So we've begun that project, and I think you asked me as we were chatting beforehand, gosh, why are you doing that when it's cold outside? So is it ideal? No.
I did wonder.
Well, and you're not the only one who's wondered that. We would love to have been able to start it sooner, but the selection process and the research process that we worked with our corporate partners and other communities to get to this solution that all communities can use took longer. But we also didn't want to wait because it is feasible to do it. So we're working about a week at a time so that, as we move into January and February, if we see that we're not going to have great conditions, we can pause until the weather improves. Now, what we're doing right now, we are providing residents a couple weeks' notice. Team goes in, they walk the space to see, what the undertaking is going to be. They work with the resident to remove all of the window coverings and things prior to the install. When the install is occurring, we have some residents actually who have, I saw one resident yesterday morning with her sweater on and her cup of warm coffee, interestingly watching the work going on. But we're also providing a hospitality suite for the residents, usually 2, 3, 4 apartments at a time, that they'll be able to relax in and be out of their apartment if they need to be, certainly for their own safety if they don't want to observe. Some folks are very interested and they like watching.
Lynn, I have a question relative to the windows. The window is totally open. And you just mentioned that residents are going to be asked to remove drapes, blinds?
No, we'll do that. Residents won't have to do that. We have a team that will come in and prepare the area for the install. That includes removing window coverings, moving furniture. So if you think about it a little bit like when your windows are cleaned, you're moving things away.
Yeah.
And so they'll come in and they'll remove window coverings, and then the install team will actually do the window removal and installation, and then the other team will come back and put everything back.
Can your people leave the blinds up?
They can't leave them up.
Okay.
No, they'll have to be taken down and reinstalled. But that will be done, and that's part of the preparation so that their time is used efficiently. So there will be plenty of communication to residents who are going through that. They'll have advance notice and lots of communication. I would say next week we're working with our General Services Committee, and so the residents have a show that we're going to try and focus on windows and share some information. Some folks might be interested. We'll try and have some images and video.
I'm glad to hear you say what you did say, because I was thinking of the 95-year-old trying to get up on a ladder to take down.
No. We want this to be as unintrusive as possible and not an effort for the resident. So part of that communication is there will be a walkthrough just to take a look and see what the job entails and give folks plenty of advance notice.
One last question vis-a-vis windows. Could this have been done in the summertime?
Not this past summer, because we weren't at that point with the selection and the testing. We would love to have gotten there, but part of the process was to choose a window that not only looked great, but that met our specs for functionality, and that also goes to how we're constructed. So part of the testing included putting in sample windows, because some communities, for instance, have, like us, a masonry facade. Others have more of the stucco or an eaves facade, which all of those require different things for the installation of the windows and the removal. So we wanted to make sure that we were doing it properly and that the window selected made the most sense for that. So a lot of testing. We would love to have been doing it in the summer, but at the same time we don't want residents to have to wait, because if we can disrupt you for a day or two and get your windows in, you'll be happier through the winter.
Are these energy efficient?
Oh,
windows?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So over a period of 10 years or 20, they will pay for themselves.
I can't speak to the exact return on investment, but yes, much like our insulation project, we will see returns in savings in utilities, and I think residents will notice a significant difference. I would also say one of the questions we've had is from folks who have said, you know what, my windows are fine, and I've lived here a long time, and I really don't want windows. And unfortunately, it's not an option to opt out.
Okay.
We need to do an entire building at a time, not just for aesthetics, but that's part of the maintenance and upkeep of the building. We're thrilled that there are residents who haven't had issues, but the nature of these windows is such that they're overdue for replacement. Repair is just not enough. So more information to come next week, but certainly if you have specific questions, don't hesitate to call me or project management.
Thank you. You have a lot more projects. I'm going to, again, be quiet, so go ahead.
Well, one other thing that folks have probably seen in their cubby, and you know, I don't usually like to say I call it the S word, snow. But we did put out, I think, on a bright orange flyer, for residents who have reserved parking, they can sign up for our subscription service. And what that means is anytime there's snowfall and you've signed up for the program, you pay $10 and it's automatically done. You're already on the list. We know whose car we need to clean. If for some reason you're not there, we clean your space so it's clean for you when you come back.
Okay.
We say on the form it will be done no later than 48 hours. Although we don't put the caveat, I think most people are of a sound mind to think that, you know, unless we get 12 or 15 inches of snow like last year, and it did take us a bit longer, certainly our priorities are the main thoroughfares, the circles in front of the buildings for fire EMS. But I encourage folks with reserved parking to sign up for that subscription service. If you don't have reserved parking, but you desire your car to be clean, all you need to do is call the day that morning when General Services is open and just say, hey, can you clean my car? You provide the location of your vehicle and your vehicle information, and we add you to the list.
Any other?
You know, there are
projects?
lots of things going on. I would just encourage folks to prepare appropriately for the weather. You know, as things get colder, make sure that if and when we get some of the frozen precipitation, that you're wearing appropriate footwear, take your time, think before you go out. And certainly as we're in this holiday week and folks are in a hurry and excited for maybe families to visit, just take your time. Our speed limit on campus is 15. Please proceed with caution everywhere you go.
There is one other project that I heard about.
Yes, what is
And
it?
that was, are you going to be replacing doors?
Ah, thank you. That was on my list, and I looked right over it. So in Neighborhood 1, we are due to replace the apartment entry doors. That's your wood door. So we started that project and found that the vendor, the manufacturer, had made an error, and it was of such significance that they, at their cost, are remanufacturing the doors. We had hoped that they would be here, but there has been a delay. And so we will communicate in the coming weeks as to when to expect those. We may or may not get those in before the Christmas holiday. We don't want to intrude with residents. So that work will be communicated specifically to the residents. It should be very limited interruption. They'll be painted before they come, and it'll just be a hanging and installing of the hardware.
As with windows, will the doors be campus-wide?
We're only replacing in Neighborhood 1 because they're the only ones who had the wood, more institutional door. They'll be replaced with what the rest of the campus has, which is a 6-panel steel door.
Len, you have been just full of good information. And I certainly want to thank you. What should I say? Go Ohio State or go Michigan?
Yes, go Buckeyes. Well, certainly not the latter. It is Beat Blue Week, so to all my Buckeye friends out there, OH.
I wish we had another half hour to talk about all your projects. I know you and your staff are busy. So I want to thank you for taking the time out from your busy day to come here and fill us in as to what's going on. You've been most gracious, and I thank you ever so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Happy Thanksgiving.